All these people, with one goal in mind, to make it here. But the reality, 20% won't actually make it. Nationwide, about 40% of students in low-income families attend high-poverty schools. Students in low-income families are over 6 times more likely to attend a high-poverty school. In these Title I schools, they are faced with high turnover rates, inexperienced teachers, and apathy with minimal involvement from the home.
A newly released report by the Southern Education Foundation says a majority of all public school students across the United States come from low-income families.
In just 11 years, the amount of states that hold over 50% of low-income students in their public schools have nearly quadrupled. In 2000, there were only 4 states, but in 2011, this number skyrocketed to 17 states. These schools are considered Title I schools. Title I is a program designed to provide extra resources to high-poverty schools to help them meet greater challenges of educating at-risk students.
But the wealth and the type of quality of family life for the average kid whose home base is heritage, it's incomparable to the average socio-economic background of the kids where I used to teach.
Even with this Title I program in place, states are still struggling as the funding has been taken and placed elsewhere.
Education has seen its fair share of funding cuts in the United States, and North Carolina is no exception. Now, teachers in the state fear that the situation could have negative long-term effects on their students.
In the public middle school, I thought it was going to be a situation of no social promotion, right? And I realized the very first year that I was there, 2000, 2001, that was just, there was no way. There was no possible way to retain all the kids who would conceivably have failed. I would have had to have built a new school, right? And then you had the 6th grade kids who are, being replaced, by the rising 5th graders. What are you going to do? You can't just house all the kids. If you have a class of 200 and 75 of those kids fail, or 100, half the kids fail, what do? Right? Now you're going to have conceivably a class of 7th graders of 300 kids, and bursting at the seams and like trailers, and so eventually you realize pretty on in some public school systems that failure is not an option.
But sometimes, due to a lack of support in the school and the home, some students are left with no other choice but to fail.
Saying that we don't have apathy here, but I think that you're dealing with a different demographic at this school completely. In the school I was at, it's Title I, which means there's over 50% poor, free, and reduced lunch. You just, in general, and I hate to be stereotypical, but you have to be, you have a greater degree of disengagement among parents. And that makes our job a lot harder when you can't sort of get parents to join you in the process. On some level, parents have to step up and be willing to engage that process. And here I find that parents do so more often. Now, that also has a converse, because then you get the helicopters, when anything comes in, and they do that. You'd be surprised, and they actually make little velociraptor sounds. But if I had to choose between helicopters and just not there, I'll take the helicopters, because I can, there's ways to deal with that as long as you document and you do your job. You don't have anything to worry about. But it does make it a lot harder when parents don't care about education. Kids aren't going to care either. And I think you have more people here caring about it, and that might be a function of socioeconomics. I guess it is a function of socioeconomics, and that's a sad reality, but that's what it is.
Unfortunately, recently it seems as though the school system doesn't care. New studies find that, for teachers, experience really does matter, but the odds that a child will be taught by a new teacher have increased dramatically over the past 2 decades. In the school year of 1987 to 1988, the most common level of experience among the nation's 3 million K-12 public school teachers was 14 years in the classroom. By 2007 to 2008, students were most likely to encounter a teacher with just 1 or 2 years of experience.
I feel like every parent, poor neighborhood, rich neighborhood, etc., wants the best for their kid and wants a better future than what they had, right? Whether the parent went to Yale and is a CEO, they want their kid to be able to, go beyond that. And so I think that parents always want more. The problem sometimes in poorer neighborhoods is the parents might not have the resources of time. They sometimes have not had great experiences in public education themselves, so it's hard to get them in the school, or they might not be able to provide the help, pay for a tutor, or come out to parent night, or all those things. So the biggest is, I don't think there's any difference with the hearts of parents, but sometimes the resources, the ability to get to school, etc., can be really hard. And research is pretty clear that when a school reaches a certain percentage of poverty or failure rate or any of these things, they're harder places to teach. You need more resources, you need more intervention people, etc., and it's harder to attract teachers who have choices, right? If you're going to be in a school where, 60% of your freshman class is off grade level in reading, or you're going to get offered a school that has 14 class size and all the kids are right where they need to be, and I don't have to worry about learning how to teach reading because I never was taught that. You sometimes have a teacher shortage, or people will stay for a short time at a challenging school rather than someone at Heritage might dig in and stay for 15 or 20 years, and you don't see that same rate. So I think that's the big one.
Working conditions and benefits are very important to teachers, but what is arguably the most important is their sense of purpose and satisfaction from aiding in the lives of their students and making a difference. If they felt as though they were not accomplishing this, they would either transfer schools or change careers completely. In the years of 2013 to 2014 and 2014 to 2015, the amount of all teachers who have left schools due to dissatisfaction or career change is at the highest point it has been in over 16 years. One of the reasons teachers continue to leave is they feel as though they have limited resources when teaching. But if this trend continues, the teachers themselves will become the limited resource.
But we could not count on the home being really, that there would be books in the home or that kids would read in the home. So yeah, we had limited books, and if books got lost, they were lost, and it was hard to recoup that.
A lot of times, I believe the more affluent neighborhoods and schools have access to a lot more supplies and materials and computers, technologies. And I also believe a lot of the parental support also is important. And I noticed that more in more affluent areas than schools that aren't as affluent.
Some schools, though, are not as affluent as others.
A lot of the world's ills are poverty-based, right? And Heritage does not suffer from that problem. It has other issues, but to compare the two, which I really can do, Heritage is very, very privileged and is very advantaged compared to the schools that are in poor neighborhoods.
I actually work in, what do you call it here, a mobile unit instead of in the actual building. And I am limited with a lot of computer usage. I don't have a smart board or anything in my classroom. So I feel like a lot of the 21st century learning that's supposed to be happening is not happening.
Some might be questioning why exactly school is so important, but having an education and learning is vital.
And I'm like, okay, so what is this? And we try to define what this is and what its value is and how we assign the value of it. And then we talk about how at any given moment, like arbitrarily, like this could really decrease or even increase in value. So if I print, 100,000 more of these, the value is going to go down. 10 years ago, this meant something different, that sort of thing. And then I always take out like my ring. I'm like, what is this? This is gold. And what's the value of that? Well, the value of gold is intrinsic. It doesn't need us to assign it a value. It's always going to have it. That's sort of an analogy for the difference between grades and learning. A grade is something that we can completely change at any time. Like last year, a A was a 93 to 100. This year's a 90 to a 100. What is that? It completely changed. You don't need it. But learning is like gold. It's going to be valuable. If there's a zombie apocalypse, you can wipe your butt with this. But this, I can get some bread. That's something that's always going to be valued. And that's the thing is I don't think we really instill the intrinsic value of learning. And so, when we talk about passing, failing, are you learning? Are you gaining? Are you growing? Are you value added? Are you, allowing yourself to reach your aptitude? Are you exploring your own intellect? And I don't think that this system is designed for that. And I think that's a whole nother agenda itself. We're creating good consumers as opposed to, good gainful citizens.
At the school level, but I would say about between 5 to 8% at every grade, you'll have failure rates that are going to stop a student from advancing to the next grade, which are really critical failure rates.
The rates, I'd say it's about 60% passing, and the rest, unfortunately, are failing, I believe.
Devil or angel, I can't.